Every night you close your eyes, trusting you'll wake up. But what if consciousness is more fragile than you think? Memory more fictional than real and free will? Just an illusion your neurons tell themselves. Tonight, we're diving into 15 theories that will shatter everything you believe about your mind, your choices, and what makes you, you. Prepare to question the very nature of being human. If this resonates with you, a subscribe is appreciated. Let's begin. Theory 1. Quantum immortality. What if every morning you wake up, you're not just lucky to be alive, you're the survivor of countless deaths in parallel universes? This is quantum immortality, and if it's true, you've already died thousands of times. You just don't remember. The idea stems from the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. Every time a quantum event occurs, a particle decays, a photon splits, the universe branches into parallel realities. In one universe, you step off the curb and get hit by a car. In another, you hesitate for a split second and the car passes. According to this theory, your consciousness always jumps to the timeline where you survive. From your subjective point of view, you never experience death. You just keep waking up. Others see you die. Your friends mourn at your funeral in their timeline. But you're still here wondering why you had such a close call. This explains those miraculous near-death experiences, that car crash you escaped by inches, that plane you missed that later crashed. Maybe it wasn't luck. Maybe you died in countless other universes, and your consciousness simply continued in the one where you survived. Then there's déjà vu, that eerie feeling you've lived this moment before. Could it be memory bleed from another timeline where you made different choices? A ghost signal from a parallel you. But here's the dark paradox. If quantum immortality is real, you'll live forever from your own perspective, but you'll become increasingly alone. Everyone you love will die in your timeline one by one while you keep surviving. You'll be the last witness standing, watching the universe age around you, unable to join them in death. And philosophically, every decision you make is being lived somewhere in the multiverse. That job you didn't take, you took it elsewhere. That relationship that ended it continues in another reality. Every possibility plays out. So if quantum immortality is true, you are the ultimate survivor of infinite versions of yourself, the one who made every right choice to still be breathing. Every moment you exist is a miracle born from trillions of quantum coin flips landing on survive. You're not just alive, you're impossibly, statistically, miraculously alive. Theory 2. The hard problem of consciousness. Why isn't pain just a 40 Hz electrical signal firing through your neurons? Why does it hurt? Why isn't red simply 700 nanometer wavelength light hitting your retina? Why does it look red? This is the hard problem of consciousness, and despite decades of neuroscience, we're no closer to solving it. Scientists excel at explaining what philosopher David Chalmers calls the easy problems: how the brain stores memories, processes. Information recognizes faces. These are just mechanisms, circuitry. But the hard problem asks something far deeper. Why does any of this generate subjective experience? How does 1.4 kilograms of neurons firing electrochemical signals create the sensation of being you? Why is there qualia, the raw feeling of experience itself? Some researchers argue consciousness emerges from complexity, a byproduct of billions of neurons interacting. Others insist consciousness might be fundamental to the universe itself, like gravity or space, not created by brains, but filtered through them. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. Consider GPT-4 processing language with stunning sophistication. Is it understanding or just executing algorithms? Now imagine a philosophical zombie, a being physically identical to you, responding exactly like you, but with zero inner experience. No lights on inside. How would you prove you're not one? This isn't abstract. It shapes life and death decisions. Is a coma patient conscious? Do animals experience suffering the way we do? These questions determine euthanasia laws, animal rights, abortion ethics, all hinging on what consciousness actually is. The controversy deepens. If physics and chemistry can't explain subjective experience, does materialism fail? Or are we trapped in the wrong conceptual framework, asking questions that have no scientific answers? Here's the humbling truth. The more we map the brain, the more mysterious you becomes. We can watch neurons fire when you see red, but we cannot explain why it feels like anything. That's the gap science hasn't crossed. Perhaps consciousness isn't a problem to solve, but a reminder of knowledge's limits, that the most intimate thing you know might forever escape objective explanation. Maybe the answer lies not in laboratories, but in philosophy, in questions science was never designed to answer. Theory 3. Memory formation. Your most cherished memory, your wedding day. The moment your child was born, that perfect summer has been photoshopped by your brain thousands of times, and you have absolutely no idea. Here's the unsettling reality. Your brain doesn't store memories like a video recording. It reconstructs them. Every single time you recall something, your brain doesn't hit play. It rebuilds the memory from scattered fragments. And each reconstruction subtly alters it. This process, called reconsolidation, means memories are rewritten every time you remember them. Psychologist Elizabeth Loftus proved this with disturbing ease. She implanted entirely false memories into research subjects, convincing them they'd been lost in a shopping mall as children, an event that never happened. The misinformation effect demonstrates how even simple leading questions permanently change memory. Ask, how fast was the car going when it smashed? Versus when it contacted. The word smashed makes people remember higher speeds and even see broken glass that wasn't there. Then there's the Mandela effect. Millions of people sharing identical false memories. Does the Monopoly man wear a monocle? Countless people swear yes. He never has. How do collective false memories form across unconnected minds? This hits home during family arguments. That's not how it happened. Both sides absolutely certain, both remembering completely different events. Who's right? Neither. Both brains have rewritten history, each believing their reconstructed version is the original truth. The legal implications are staggering. Eyewitness testimony seems like the most reliable evidence someone saw it happen. Yet it's also the most unreliable. Witnesses confidently identify the wrong person. Leading questions from lawyers reshape what they remember. Innocent people sit in prison because memory is fiction pretending to be fact. Future technology could exploit this. Scientists are exploring methods to erase traumatic PTSD memories or implant new ones. Imagine downloading language skills like Neo in The Matrix. But here's the profound implication. Your past isn't fixed. You recreate it, daily editing as you go. So, stop arguing about who remembers correctly. Nobody does. Instead, create new memories worth keeping. You're not a slave to your past. because your past is whatever your brain decides it was today. Theory 4. The placebo effect. A sugar pill cures chronic back pain that lasted 10 years. A fake surgery where doctors only cut the skin eliminates knee pain completely. Your brain is more powerful than you think. The placebo effect isn't imagination. It produces measurable physiological changes. When patients believe they're receiving pain medication, their brains actually release endorphins and dopamine. Real neurochemicals, real pain relief. Studies show placebos can match morphine's effectiveness for certain types of pain. Even the color of pills matters. Blue pills work better as sedatives, red pills as stimulants. Expensive treatments work better than cheap ones. A doctor's confident manner amplifies the effect. This raises ethical nightmares. Should doctors deceive patients if it helps them heal? Where's the line between treatment and manipulation? But here's where things get really strange. Harvard researchers in 2010 discovered open-label placebo patients knew they were taking sugar pills, yet still improved. They were told, "This is fake medicine, but fake medicine helps people," and it worked. How does consciously knowing something is fake still trigger healing? Then there's the nocebo effect, placebo's evil twin. Tell patients a harmless pill has side effects, and they'll actually develop those symptoms. Belief creates suffering, just as it creates healing. Fear is medicine in reverse. This blurs into territory. Science dismisses religious healing. Qigong energy work. Where does placebo end and spirituality begin? Perhaps they're the same phenomenon wearing different cultural masks. Big Pharma has a secret fear. Expensive drugs often beat placebo by only 20-30%. When a $1,000 medication barely outperforms belief, what does that say about the pharmaceutical industry's foundation? And deeper still, how many diseases are partially created by our minds? Anxiety worsens pain. Depression suppresses immunity. Stress manifests as physical symptoms. If belief makes you sick and belief makes you well, where is the boundary between mind and body? Here's the truth they don't advertise. Sometimes the most powerful medicine isn't in the bottle, it's in the belief that the bottle will help. Your brain has a pharmacy inside it producing drugs on demand. The question isn't whether this pharmacy exists. The question is how to give your brain permission to open it. Theory 5. The function of sleep. 1/3 of your life will be spent unconscious, roughly 25 years if you live to 75. Why doesn't the brain simply enter a low-power standby mode instead of forcing a complete 8-hour shutdown every night? What's so critical about sleep that evolution made it non-negotiable? Multiple theories compete for explanation. The glymphatic system hypothesis suggests sleep is when your brain takes out the trash. Cerebral spinal fluid flushes out metabolic waste accumulated during waking hours. The memory consolidation theory argues sleep transfers information from short-term to long-term storage editing and strengthening important memories. Others claim it's about energy conservation or cellular repair. But here's the problem. No single theory fully explains sleep's purpose. Even fruit flies sleep creatures with tiny brains that don't need elaborate memory processing. This suggests sleep serves a fundamental biological function we haven't fully grasped. Stay awake for 11 days straight, as Randy Gardner did in 1964, and you'll experience hallucinations, severe cognitive impairment, and psychological breakdown. Sleep isn't optional. It's survival. Recent research connects sleep to Alzheimer's disease. During sleep, The brain clears beta amyloid proteins, the same toxic plaques found in Alzheimer's patients. Without adequate sleep, these proteins accumulate. A 2023 study found that losing just one night of sleep increases tau protein levels by 30%, another neurotoxin linked to dementia. Sleep isn't rest. It's maintenance preventing your brain from poisoning itself. The Dalai Lama's quote, "Sleep is the best meditation," now has scientific backing. Sleep reorganizes neural connections, processes emotions, and resets stress responses. Functions meditation also provides, but sleep does automatically. Yet productivity culture pushes polyphasic sleep. Leonardo da Vinci and Nikola Tesla allegedly slept only 2 hours daily in short naps. Is this superhuman efficiency or dangerous delusion? Research suggests chronic sleep deprivation causes permanent cognitive damage. The future might bring pharmacological sleep replacement. The US military actively researches this, seeking soldiers who don't need rest. But at what cost? What essential processes would we lose? Here's the uncomfortable truth dismissing sleep as wasted time is dismissing yourself. Your brain needs to go offline to come back online, sharper, healthier, more resilient. Productivity culture's greatest lie is that rest equals laziness. Sleep isn't weakness. It's the biological imperative that keeps you human. Theory 6. Nature versus nurture. Identical twins separated at birth, raised in different countries by different families. 40 years later, they reunite and discover same career, same hobbies. Wives with the same name. Genetics or coincidence? This is the nature versus nurture debate, and the answer is far more complex than either side admits. The famous Minnesota twin study tracked twins raised apart and found something shocking. Roughly 70% of personality traits appeared to be inherited. Same sense of humor, same political views, same fears despite never meeting. Genes seemed to write the script. But then epigenetics changed everything. It revealed that environment doesn't just influence behavior, it literally turns genes on and off. You inherit the genes, but experience determines whether they activate. It's not nature or nurture. It's nature multiplied by nurture. A child might carry genes for tall height, but with poor nutrition, they'll still be short. The potential was there. The environment decided the outcome. Here's where it gets darker. Studies of Holocaust survivors show that severe trauma creates epigenetic changes passed down through 3 generations. Grandchildren of survivors who never experienced the Holocaust themselves show altered stress hormone responses. Trauma becomes biological inheritance. This fuels heated social debates. Is a criminal born or made? If someone carries the warrior gene MAOAL variant linked to aggression, are they predetermined to violence? Not exactly. Research shows this gene only increases violent behavior in people who suffered childhood abuse. Gene plus environment equals outcome. Nature loads the gun. Nurture pulls the trigger. Consider IQ 50–80% heritable studies suggest. But here's the catch. Environmental interventions can boost IQ by 20 points. Education, nutrition, stimulation all reshape what genes made possible. You're not trapped by your DNA. The paradox is, this genetics determines your capabilities, but you determine how you use them. Your genes are the cards you're dealt. How you play them is entirely yours. You're not just the product of genes or environment, you or how you respond to both. Nature loads the ammunition, environment pulls the trigger, but you choose where to aim. Theory 7. Pain perception. A soldier takes a bullet through his leg, but feels no pain until the battle ends. An amputee experiences excruciating agony in a hand that no longer exists. Pain isn't where you think it is. It's not in the wound. It's in the brain. According to gate control theory, pain signals must pass through a gate in the spinal cord before reaching the brain. But here's the crucial part: the brain can open or close this gate. Context, emotion, attention all influence whether pain signals get through. During combat, adrenaline and focus slam the gate shut. Pain waits. Later, when safety returns, the gate opens and agony floods in. Then there's phantom limb pain. 80% of amputees feel intense pain in body parts they've lost. They feel fingers curling, joints aching in limbs that were removed years ago. How the brain's body map doesn't update. It still expects signals from that missing hand, and when none arrive, it generates pain on its own. Pain becomes a negotiation between signal and expectation. Classic experiments prove context shapes pain. Plunge your hand into cold water after warm water, and it feels more painful than plunging into the same cold water directly. Same temperature, different experience. Your brain compares contrasts and decides how much it should hurt. Here's where psychology meets neurology. Stress, anxiety, and depression amplify pain through central sensitization. The nervous system becomes hypersensitive, turning minor signals into major suffering. Chronic pain isn't just physical. It's a feedback loop where suffering breeds more suffering. But there's hope. Mindfulness meditation reduces pain intensity by 27%, comparable to low-dose morphine. Studies show it works by changing how the brain processes pain signals, not by blocking them. You feel the sensation, but suffer less from it. The future is already here. Virtual reality tricks the brain into reducing pain. Burn victims playing immersive VR games report 30–50% less pain during wound care. Cancer patients use VR to manage chemotherapy discomfort. The brain distracted and immersed closes the pain gate. Yet there's a cautionary tale: people born with congenital insensitivity to pain, completely unable to feel it, usually die young. They don't notice broken bones, infections, or internal injuries. Pain isn't punishment. It's the warning system that keeps you alive. So pain is a signal, not a sentence. Learn to negotiate with your brain, change the input, change the experience. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Theory 8. Neurotransmitters in mental disorders. Depression is caused by low serotonin. You've heard this a million times. Pharmaceutical ads, doctors, pop psychology articles, everyone repeats it. But what if it was never true? This is the chemical imbalance theory, the idea that mental disorders result from neurotransmitter deficiencies. Depression means low serotonin. Anxiety means excessive norepinephrine. The logic seems simple. SSRI antidepressants increase serotonin and patients improve. Case closed, right? Not quite. Here's the problem. Not everyone with depression has low serotonin levels, and roughly 50% of people taking SSRIs don't respond to them. If serotonin deficiency caused depression, these drugs should work for everyone. They don't. Something doesn't add up. Then came the bombshell. A 2022 University College London review analyzed decades of research and concluded there's no consistent evidence that depression is caused by low serotonin. None. The chemical imbalance theory, repeated for 30 years, might be pharmaceutical marketing more than science. Big Pharma heavily promoted chemical imbalance messaging throughout the 1990s and 2000s. It made mental illness feel medical treatable less stigmatized. But it also sold billions in medications. If the underlying theory is wrong, what does that mean for the 40 million Americans taking antidepressants? Here's the nuance: SSRIs do help many people, but we don't fully understand why. Some researchers believe it's not about serotonin itself, but about neuroplasticity. The drugs may help the brain rewire itself. Others point to placebo effects being stronger than we admit. What's clear: combining medication with cognitive behavioral therapy produces double the improvement of medication alone. Pills aren't enough. Context matters. Therapy matters. Lifestyle matters. The new model of depression is far more complex. Chronic stress, plus genetic vulnerability, plus psychological factors, plus social isolation. It's not one chemical. It's an entire system gone haywire. So here's the uncomfortable truth. Your mind isn't just chemistry. Don't let a pill define who you are. Healing requires medication therapy and changing how you live. The chemical imbalance theory simplified something that was never simple. We owe ourselves and patients a more honest story. Theory 9. Causes of autism. 1 in 36. American children is diagnosed with autism. That's a 300% increase over 20 years. Is this an epidemic, or are we finally learning to see what was always there? Autism exists on a spectrum from individuals who need full-time support to those who live independently but think differently. The causes remain frustratingly unclear. Genetics plays a major role. Over 200 genes have been linked to autism, but no single gene causes it. Environmental factors are suspected but unproven. And let's be absolutely clear, vaccines do not cause autism. The 1998 Wakefield study claiming this was retracted debunked, and Wakefield lost his medical license. That debate is over. Yet we still don't know what does cause autism. And here's where the conversation is shifting. What if autism isn't something wrong with the brain, but rather a different way the brain develops? Many autistic individuals possess remarkable abilities: photographic memory, advanced mathematical reasoning, extraordinary artistic talent. This has fueled the neurodiversity movement, which argues autism isn't a disease to cure, but a neurological difference to understand and accommodate. The brain wired differently, not defectively. The rising diagnosis rates might not reflect more autism, but better recognition. Diagnostic criteria broadened. Awareness increased. Girls who mask symptoms differently than boys are now being identified. What once went unnoticed now has a name. But controversy remains. Applied behavior analysis, ABA therapy. The most common intervention is praised by some for helping autistic children develop skills and criticized by others for forcing conformity. Essentially, training kids to act normal at the cost of their authentic selves. Is it helping or suppressing? Environmental factors remain under investigation: parental age, at conception air pollution exposure, during pregnancy gut microbiome differences. Links exist, but causation remains unproven. Here's the profound shift. Autism isn't a puzzle to solve, it's a different operating system. Instead of fixing autistic people to fit neurotypical standards, perhaps society should learn to value different ways of thinking. Neurological diversity enriches humanity the same way biodiversity strengthens ecosystems. The question isn't what causes autism, but how do we build a world where different minds thrive? Theory 10. Limits of human lifespan. Jean Calment lived to 122 years old, the longest verified human lifespan in history. Why has no one surpassed her? Is there a hard biological ceiling? Or have we simply not discovered how to break through yet? Biology offers a sobering explanation: the Hayflick limit. Human cells can only divide approximately 50 times before stopping. The reason lies in telomeres' protective caps on chromosome ends that shorten with each division. When telomeres run out, cells stop dividing, deteriorate, die. Aging is cellular math. Add to this the accumulation of damaged DNA mutations, misfolded proteins, dysfunctional mitochondria. The body is a machine breaking down faster than it repairs itself. Some scientists argue this creates a hard limit around 120, 150 years. Even with perfect health, the system eventually collapses. But nature offers counterexamples. Galapagos tortoises live 190 years. Greenland sharks reach 400. What do they have that we don't? The naked mole rat, an ugly, wrinkled rodent, lives 10 times longer than ordinary mice and never gets cancer. If they evolved longevity, why can't we engineer it? Emerging technologies target aging directly. Senolytics kill senescent zombie cells that poison surrounding tissue. Gene editing could repair DNA damage. NAD+ boosters restore cellular energy production. Billionaire Brian Johnson spends $2 million annually trying to reverse aging. His biological markers show a younger body than his chronological age. Success or expensive delusion? The jury's still out. But here's the paradox. Nobody wants to discuss if humans lived indefinitely, what happens to society. Who gets access, everyone, or just the wealthy? If no one dies, who gets born? What's the purpose of life without death to give it urgency? Immortality might sound like utopia, but it could be dystopia. Endless life means endless existence. But does it mean endless meaning? Death creates scarcity, and scarcity creates value. We don't yet know if lifespan has a true ceiling. But here's the wisdom aging teaches. Instead of racing to add 10 years live fully in the 70 you have, lifespan doesn't matter as much as life quality. The goal isn't to live forever, it's to live well. Theory 11. Culture shaping behavior. In Japan, people apologize when someone else bumps into them. In America, the mantra is, "I'm a self-made success." Scandinavians are the happiest people on earth, yet communicate the least. Does culture literally reshape the brain? The divide between individualism and collectivism runs deeper than behavior. It shapes cognition itself. Western cultures prize independence, personal achievement standing out. Eastern cultures value harmony, family honor, fitting in. This isn't just philosophy, it's neurology. Studies reveal something shocking when shown a photograph. Asian participants focus on context and relationships between objects. Americans zero in on the central figure, ignoring the background. Same image, different perceptions. Culture doesn't just influence what you think, it changes what you see. This happens not through genetics, but through training from birth. Your culture is the lens you don't realize you're looking through. But here's the problem with most psychology research. It's based on weird societies. Western, educated, industrialized, rich, democratic. These represent only 12% of humanity, yet account for 96% of psychological studies. We've been calling human nature what might just be weird nature. Moral frameworks differ dramatically. Western ethics emphasize individual harm, don't hurt others. Eastern and traditional societies add layers: loyalty to group, respect for authority, purity, and sanctity. Neither is right. They're different moral operating systems. Even happiness is culturally defined. Americans pursue happiness through personal success and self-expression. Japanese find it in social harmony and meeting obligations. Both achieve well-being, but through opposite paths. Then there's the digital generation. Gen Z across the globe shares memes, slang values more similar to each other than to their own parents. Is digital culture creating the first truly global mindset, erasing cultural boundaries? This raises uncomfortable questions about cultural relativism. Are there universal moral truths, or is everything culturally relative? Female genital mutilation, honor killings, caste systems, when does respecting cultural differences become excusing harm? Here's the truth. Culture is the invisible lens through which you see reality. There's no correct culture, only different ways of being human. Understanding other cultures doesn't weaken your identity. It reveals how much of you was always cultural programming. The way you think isn't universal human thought, it's your culture thinking through you. Theory 12. The role of microbiota. You are not one person. You are an ecosystem of 39 trillion bacteria. They outweigh your brain, and they're influencing decisions you think are yours. The human microbiome. The collective bacteria, viruses, and fungi in and on your body contains more cells than you have human cells. You're more microbe than you. And these microorganisms aren't passive passengers. They're active participants in your biology, especially your brain. The gut-brain axis connects your intestines directly to your central nervous system via the vagus nerve. This isn't metaphorical. It's a physical information highway. What happens in your gut affects what happens in your head. Experiments prove this disturbingly. Transfer fecal matter from an anxious mouse into a calm mouse, and the calm mouse becomes anxious. The anxiety transferred with the bacteria. Your gut microbiome may be shaping your mood, personality, even mental health. Here's the stunning part. Roughly 90% of the body's serotonin, the neurotransmitter linked to happiness, is produced in the gut, not the brain. Your intestines are a pharmaceutical factory, and bacteria control the production line. Diet directly impacts mental state. High-sugar diets promote inflammation, which correlates with depression. Probiotics, particularly lactobacillus strains, reduce cortisol, the stress hormone, as effectively as some medications. Your food isn't just fuel, it's information that programs your microbiome, which then programs you. Emerging research links abnormal gut bacteria to autism, Parkinson's disease, and multiple sclerosis. Fecal transplants, yes. Transplanting someone else's microbiome successfully treats C. difficile infections and are now being tested for depression and anxiety. The future may include psychobiotics bacteria, specifically designed to improve mental health. But there's a dark side. Antibiotics, while life-saving, indiscriminately kill good bacteria along with bad. This disruption correlates with increased obesity, allergies, autoimmune disorders, evidence that we've been waging war on allies we didn't know we needed. The paradox is profound. You think you're making decisions, but bacteria in your gut are casting votes. That craving for sugar. Certain bacteria thrive on it and may be manipulating your desires. Free will meets microbiology. So, you are what you eat isn't folk wisdom, it's neuroscience. Your gut bacteria are shaping your thoughts and emotions. Taking care of your gut isn't just physical health, it's mental health. The mind-body connection isn't poetic, it's bacterial. Theory 13. The quantum mind. If the brain is just a biological computer, Why do we have intuition, creativity, consciousness? Could the brain be using quantum mechanics, something classical computers cannot do? This is the quantum mind hypothesis proposed by physicist Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff. They argue that microtubules, tiny structures inside brain cells, perform quantum computations. Unlike classical computing, which processes information sequentially, quantum systems exist in superposition processing, multiple possibilities simultaneously. This could explain the brain's remarkable abilities: intuition, insight, the sudden aha moment of creativity, even free will. But here's the controversy. Quantum effects are delicate, requiring cold, isolated environments. The brain is warm, wet, chaotic, seemingly the worst place for quantum coherence to survive. Critics dismiss quantum mind theory as impossible in biological conditions. Yet, nature offers tantalizing evidence. Migratory birds use quantum entanglement in proteins within their eyes to see Earth's magnetic field for navigation. Photosynthesis in plants may exploit quantum coherence for near-perfect energy transfer. If birds and plants harness quantum mechanics, why not brains? Some researchers speculate that anesthesia, which shuts off consciousness, works by disrupting quantum coherence in microtubules. If true consciousness itself might be a quantum phenomenon. This has profound implications for artificial intelligence. Classical computers, no matter how advanced, might never achieve consciousness because they don't operate quantum mechanically. But what about quantum computers? Could they become conscious once sufficiently complex? The debate is fierce. Supporters see quantum mind as the missing link explaining consciousness. Critics call it quantum woo, the misuse of quantum terminology to dress up mysticism as science. Without experimental evidence, it remains speculative. But if the quantum mind hypothesis is correct, consciousness cannot be uploaded to digital computers. You're not software running on hardware. You're a quantum process that cannot be copied or transferred. Your consciousness is fundamentally irreducibly unique at the quantum level. So maybe your brain isn't just a computer, it's a quantum computer. If true, you're carrying a piece of the universe's deepest physics inside your skull. Consciousness isn't an illusion or an emergent property. It's quantum reality experiencing itself. You cannot be replicated because you exist at the quantum edge where reality becomes uncertain. Theory 14. Localization of brain function. A railroad spike blasted through Phineas Gage's skull in 1848, destroying part of his frontal lobe. He survived, but transformed from a polite, responsible man into someone impulsive and crude. Does the brain have fixed regions for specific functions, or can it rewire itself? The concept of localization suggests different brain areas control different functions. Broca's area handles speech production. The hippocampus manages memory formation. Damage to specific regions causes predictable deficits. Lose Broca's area, lose the ability to speak fluently. This seems to confirm that the brain operates like a machine with specialized parts. Early pseudoscience took this too far. Phrenology claimed you could determine personality by feeling bumps on the skull, complete nonsense. Yet it contained a kernel of truth. Brain regions do specialize. Modern brain mapping using fMRI shows specific areas lighting up during tasks. Reading activates the visual word form area. Playing music engages motor cortex and auditory regions. The evidence for localization is overwhelming. But here's where it gets remarkable. The brain has plasticity. It reorganizes itself after injury. Hemispherectomy, surgically removing half the brain, is performed on children with severe epilepsy. Shockingly, many develop nearly normally. The remaining half takes over functions of the missing half. London taxi drivers who must memorize thousands of streets have measurably larger hippocampi than average people. Ballet dancers show thickened regions controlling movement. Your brain physically reshapes based on what you do. Neurons that fire together wire together. Repeated activity strengthens connections. The popular left brain, right brain myth, logical versus creative, is largely false. Both hemispheres work together for virtually all tasks. Brain imaging reveals no right-brained or left-brained people. It's neuromyth, not neuroscience. Stroke recovery demonstrates plasticity's power. Intensive rehabilitation can transfer lost functions to undamaged regions. Speech returns through different pathways. Movement recovers through neuronal rewiring. The brain isn't trapped by damage it routes around it. So what's the truth? Localization exists, brain regions have preferences. But the brain is also adaptable, not a rigid map, but a dynamic self-reorganizing network. You're not stuck with the brain you were born with. Every action, every thought, every habit sculpts your neural architecture. Your brain isn't a static map. It's a living city constantly rebuilding itself. You shape your brain by how you live. Choose your habits carefully, they're writing your neurology. Theory 15. Altruism in evolution. Vampire bats share blood meals with hungry bats, even when they're not family. Soldier ants explode themselves to protect the colony. Humans rush into burning buildings to save strangers. Why would evolution's survival of the fittest produce self-sacrifice? This is the paradox of altruism. If evolution favors selfish genes that prioritize their own replication, helping others at personal cost shouldn't exist. Altruism wastes energy, risks. Death reduces your survival chances. Yet, it's everywhere in nature. Kin selection offers one explanation: helping relatives is helping your shared genes. A mother sacrificing for her children ensures her genes survive through them. Even dying to save siblings makes genetic sense. You share 50% of their DNA. Altruism toward family is just selfishness by proxy. But reciprocal altruism explains helping non-relatives. I'll help you now expecting you'll help me later. Vampire bats remember who shared food with them and return the favor. It's cooperation based on future payback. Yet this doesn't explain everything. Animals help complete strangers with no expectation of reward. Dolphins support injured members of other pods. Whales protect seals from orcas. Humans donate organs to anonymous recipients. Some biologists propose group selection groups containing altruists outcompete selfish groups. Even if altruists lose individually, they help their group win collectively. But this theory is controversial. Most evolution happens at the gene or individual level, not group level. Here's the deeper question: is true altruism real or just disguised self-interest? The effective altruism movement applies logic to maximize positive impact, calculating which charities save the most lives per dollar. Is this altruism or strategic resource allocation? Neuroscience reveals something profound. Helping others activates the brain's reward centers, the same regions that light up during eating or sex. Your brain literally rewards generosity. Evolution built a helper's high into our neurology. Perhaps altruism isn't fighting our nature, it's fulfilling it. Organ donation to strangers, giving a kidney to someone you'll never meet, transcends any evolutionary explanation. It's humans overriding biological programming with conscious choice. So altruism isn't a bug in evolution, it's a feature. Selfishness helps you survive. Altruism helps you live meaningfully. The brain rewards both, but only one creates connection, purpose, and legacy. Evolution got us here. Altruism makes being here worthwhile.